Welcome to the channel. This is TechnoScope.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Elemento. This is TechnoScope, the channel for all things tech and gaming hardware. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that's rather passionate to me, something that I haven't really spoken about on this particular channel, but I post about it a lot. If you ever follow the Twitter or Facebook or not Instagram, Google Plus pages where I post news articles, I post a lot about this topic. Today's topic is about net neutrality. I understand that there's a lot of misinformation out there about what it is, and that's intentional. And if you have this misconception about what it really is, I'm going to go ahead and set you straight on the path and tell you what it's about. I guess I should start with a little history. The first thing I want to say is net neutrality was never created as a political maneuver, period. The Republicans have taken it and preached that it is political, but it's not. It was never political. And net neutrality was never preemptive. It was never a preemptive move by the government or the FCC in particular. It was reactionary. It was because the FCC saw the internet as a whole start to shoot itself in the foot, and to put it into that, net neutrality was created. Now, there's a reason that the Republicans are now preaching that net neutrality is government regulation. Okay, fair enough. It is government regulation. But is it bad because it is government regulation? No, not in this particular instance. The reason it was created was because a middleman was needed here. Let me give you a little history. I'll say just let's go all the way back to when TVs were becoming mainstream. Cable companies were born, and cable companies introduced a way of buying programming that was almost always available for you, until the point where it actually became a 24/7 thing. The problem is cable, as the internet came along and started growing in popularity, the popularity of cable TV started to decrease because the internet has pretty much all the entertainment value you need all in one place for one fee per month, without add-ons and things. And more or less, if you buy internet, you don't have to buy cable TV. With one big exception, which would be sports TV. Now you can get sports like I believe Sunday Ticket. I'm not entirely sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But I know NBA, whatever theirs is called, you can get a season pass. It's expensive, but you can get a season pass, which allows you to see every game that the NBA plays, which is a lot of games, every season by every team for one fee. And what that does is it basically eliminates the middleman, which is the cable company. So you can just tune in on the internet. Well, here's the problem. There are a lot of billionaires that rely on the income from the cable companies. And not only is it the cable companies, but the cable companies themselves are losing out funds that normally they would be able to charge by getting you to buy extra packages. Have you ever understood why they sell you packages? The problem with cable TV as a whole is that most people don't watch most of the channels that are available on there. The only way the structure of it works is if people buy into the cable TV package ideal, and if you buy, this channel, they throw in all these other channels for free. It's not really free. You're paying for them. And those other smaller channels that hardly anybody watches would not survive without those bigger channels in the same package. So you have this structure that was created where all these little channels that nobody really wants can only survive in a place where cable TV exists. The bigger channels, they've gotten wise to this. They've decided, we're going to start rolling out our own individual thing. And you can subscribe to those bigger channels over the internet, get that same programming over the internet, and not have to pay for those other channels. Of course, you're for that primary channel, because it's a la carte, you're paying more for it than you would with cable. But because most people like myself, which I consider myself a cord cutter, only watch a select few channels, it actually saves money in the end. So what was happening was the cable companies on the cable side started losing money as the internet became more popular. So we got to this point where cable companies decided it was in their best interest to stop increasing the speed of internet services. Because as it gets faster, it's well known that as the internet gets faster, you're more likely to use a streaming service. Now, I have gigabit, and even if I didn't have gigabit, I wouldn't have a cable service. Back when I had 50 megabit up and down, which is still fast for a lot of you guys, still didn't have cable. Even if I was on 1515, still wouldn't have cable. That's not even fast enough, really, to watch 4K. I believe. I couldn't even stream my videos. I stream at double that rate. So, but anyway, the problem was because internet became so popular. These faster internet speeds became so popular. The services like Netflix started kicking in. Hulu started kicking in. People started getting rid of their cable, and whether they like it or not, it's a trend that's gonna continue. Most people my age do not care for cable. The only reason most people my age have it is because they want sports. Sports is one of those things that still hasn't really been figured out. Buying a season pass from NBA that's like $200 or whatever it is, that's rather high. But I guarantee once sports has it figured out, that's gonna be pretty much the death knell in cable right there. Sorry, I'm hearing things. So continue on with this net neutrality thing. What's happening is that you're basically paying for a service that you're not getting. Now, I'm gonna put this into a perspective that most people can understand, because most people don't really understand what is going on. Imagine that you have this brand new car, and it's not just any car. It's a nice car. It's a nice, shiny, high end or semi high end sports car. Probably $100,000, maybe more. You're really proud of this car, and you want it to look fantastic. So you take it to a car wash, and you're gonna have your car washed and detailed on a regular basis, right? Let's say once a month. And you take the car there, and you pay them to wash and clean and detail and everything to your car to have it looking shiny and spotless and better than it did when you bought the car, right? So this is the same as you come back to pick up your car, or well, let me say it like this. You drop the car off at this car wash. This car wash is the only car wash in miles of your home. There are no other car washes around. It has a monopoly on the area. You have the chances of you using another car wash are slim to none. And in fact, for you to use another car wash would really seriously be going out of your way. So this is the only car wash. They have a monopoly. They can set pretty much whatever price they want to. They can do pretty much whatever they want to, right? So they find out, they crunch some numbers and determine that Mother's is the brand that they use the most. And Mother's is where they spend most of their money on products. So they go to Mother's and they tell Mother's, hey, we use your product a lot. Our customers demand it and they always need it for their cars. So they tell Mother's, if you don't start paying us every month, we're going to limit the amount of your products that we use on their car. So what they do, instead of washing your entire car and detailing your entire car, they stop right behind the windshield. And you come back and you get your car and half of it is spotless, the other half is still dirty, and you're like, what the hell is this? Why would you do this? And they were like, well, that's just how it is. Mother's decided they weren't going to pay us, and we decided that's all we needed to do for the service that we offer you. That is what was happening with the internet. You are paying your ISP, your internet service provider, for a bandwidth, a limit, a certain speed per month. And you should be guaranteed that speed 24/7 for the entire month of the service that you pay for. But what they're saying is that after a certain while, we're going to cut it off. Or they're going to companies like Netflix. This actually happened. Verizon and Comcast and a couple others. They went to Netflix and told Netflix, if you do not pay us, we're going to limit your service. And that's despite the fact that the customer is paying for a certain service every month. You're paying for that speed. You're paying for whatever your broadband is, 25, 50, 100, whatever it is. You should be getting that speed. But they're telling Netflix on the other side, we're double dipping. You have to pay us too. How is that fair to the customer? That's not fair to the customer. And in fact, in a free market, if this was literally a free market, you would be able to go pick somebody else. Now, I believe in Oregon, and there are a couple of other places, but it's very rare. There are a couple other places in the country. You have multiple options. Most places in the United States have a monopoly, and it's not necessarily, other companies can't come in here. These companies got together and made deals that they would not compete in each other's territories. They did it on purpose. They made deals and contracts with municipalities, with certain districts, regions, cities, counties, whatever it may be, that they would not compete with other people's the other companies' territories. So you literally have that one option. And either you buy your service from them or you don't have service. And what they're saying is, we don't care that you paid for this service. We're saying that Netflix also has to pay for this service. YouTube has to pay for this service. Any of the major players, YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, Facebook, all those companies have to pay up to the ISP on the other side in order for you to get your full bandwidth that you're paying for. That's the problem. So what happens in a situation? Well, there aren't really any options. The only way period. There's no option. Either the ISP is a good company, and there are very few ISPs that are good companies, or they take advantage. So you're paying for this service. Most people are not going to sue their ISP. I would definitely do it if I could get the proof and find out that they're doing it. I would definitely sue them. But most people are not going to sue their ISP. So what happens is you log on with your fancy new internet service and you go to YouTube or something or Facebook or whatever. You got more than enough speed to watch anything that you want to watch, but it just buffers. Or it plays for a little while, buffers, plays for a little while, buffers, plays for. But your speed is more than enough for this. Another thing that I need to dispel: data is not a tangible object. They want to tell people, "Oh, we don't have the bandwidth." That's bullshit. The technology has been here for well over a couple decades to give every customer the bandwidth that they want and need. What it really comes down to is they don't want to pay to upgrade their infrastructure, which by the way is pennies on the dollars for what you pay them every month. They don't want to upgrade their infrastructure because it actually makes them lose money, because you're more likely to cancel cable than keep it if you have faster internet. So that's why if you're on cable modem right now, you might have 300 megabit down, but only 10 up. And you can still go to YouTube or Twitch or whatever it may be and still get buffering. I have gigabit internet and I have buffering, but the problem is I don't have the know-how to figure out or to determine that they're actually throttling my service. And anytime I come across a new tool and I try to run that tool to determine if they're throttling, it seems that they have the technology to detect that I'm trying to determine if they're throttling, and things clear up, and it's a big mess, more or less. So what happened is, say that you got your car, going back to the old is it an analogy or metaphor? I always get those mixed up, but going back to it, you're picking up your car. There's customers everywhere that are pissed off that half their car is clean, the other half is dirty, because mothers didn't pay up, and the car wash decided, hey, we're only going to clean the front half of everybody's car. So what happens is a big guy with power steps in and says, hey, you're going to clean these cars completely, or you're not going to be doing it at all, or you're going to be paying us and we're going to fix it for you. So, or I guess the other option was, we're going to open the door so that other companies can come in and build their own car wash. That's more or less what net neutrality is. They wanted to level the playing field because the corporations that run everything have already set up a method to keep you from having this level playing field, to keep everything from being fair, to keep everything. They're basically saying you cannot double dip. You cannot charge these companies to pay for the service that the customer has already paid for. They're telling these companies internet is a utility which allows other companies, third parties, to come in and offer service as well, like Google Fiber. They're telling the companies, what was the other big thing? Data caps are illegal. That was the other big thing. There's no reason to have a data cap, period. People outside of technology don't understand this. There is zero reasons to ever have a data cap. The only reason you have a data cap is because you can charge money to go over the data cap, period. Zero. There's nothing else. The only thing it does is make you think that you need to slow down on what you're doing. But here's the thing. Data is not a tangible object. It's not like you're collecting data. It's not like you're storing it in a jar or something. You can send data to a computer all day long. It's not going to explode from filling up with data. I mean, of course, you can save data, but most data on the internet these days is streaming stuff, which means it goes into the box, you see it, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. The ISPs, don't let them lie to you, have no problem sending you more data, period. There are very, 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 and I can't stress this enough, there are very few circumstances where people are using so much data that it is causing a problem for the ISP on their end. Most people don't even use most of their bandwidth most of the time. Even most businesses don't do that. It's just rare. There is zero reason to have data caps other than greed. That's all it comes down to. It's not the whole the infrastructure is failing. No, the infrastructure is fine, and the problems that do exist can easily be upgraded, but they don't want to upgrade that hardware. They don't want to do it. It's very cheap. I can afford most of the hardware that they need. Won't put it that way. It's that cheap. There's really no reason for it. Now, to get on with it, the FCC is going to make a vote this week, probably tomorrow or sometime between now and Thanksgiving. They like to do this because people aren't paying attention right now. So what they do is they vote while everybody's going out of town, while everybody is worried about, seeing family, cooking Thanksgiving dinner, or getting ready for Black Friday. And they're going to try to push this through so that it eliminates net neutrality, sending us back to the days where all the ISPs can throttle your data. They can put those bandwidth limits in place. They can tell third parties to, F off. More or less, there's no reason any normal person that uses the internet should want net neutrality to go away at this point. None. Zero. Period. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, libertarian. I don't care what you are. Tea Party. I don't care what you are. If you use the internet, you should not want net neutrality to go away. Period. The only people that it benefits are those who are operating those cable companies, the people who are getting paid by those cable companies. Oh, I didn't say this earlier. The top lobbyists in the country are the cable companies, by far. All the billion-dollar companies, all the billion-dollar industries, or trillion-dollar industries in this country, the biggest lobbyists in D.C. are the cable companies. And this is exactly why. Net neutrality. They are trying to make things like this go away. They sued a company. They sued a town in Tennessee. I wanted to say it was Chattanooga. I'm not really sure. Who decided because I think this was Comcast. Who decided because they weren't improving their infrastructure, providing service in places they want. And that's another thing. They often decide, hey, this area of town is not going to make us enough money, so we're just not going to provide them with service. But we're not going to let anybody else go in and do it either. So what they did was that city or town decided we're going to create our own service. And the service they created was fantastic. And the cable company came in and said, no, you can't do this, and took them to court and sued them over it. And I think they eventually lost, but that's what you're looking at. Pretty much every municipality in the country is going to have to sue these companies in order for them to let them do their own thing, because the cable companies don't want to offer. Oh, and I should also say this, and I'm sure there's a topic there I left. The ISPs do not, I repeat, the ISPs do not send data across the country. Don't let them lie to you. The ISPs, the only thing the ISPs do is they buy data from a third party. There are third party companies that send the majority of the data back and forth through our country. Almost all ISPs are last mile. That fiber line that's coming to your area, your district, region, whatever it may be, they buy the service that comes out of it and resell it to you. They are not in charge of sending the data across the country. So don't let them lie to you saying that it's a infrastructure problem. No, it's not. Period. I can't remember what that other topic that I was covering was. But yeah, getting back to the other municipality thing, there was another case that went on in Colorado, where they decided to do the same thing, where they put up their own service, and their service is now rated the highest in the country, the best internet service in the country. And Colorado has this unique thing where they were saying that counties can elect to opt out of the single service provider deals that they were having, and the counties and I believe the state were all being sued because of that. I can, if you didn't understand how big of a mess this was, I fully understand. I didn't understand how big of a mess this was until I started looking into it, and it goes on for days and days and days. It's ridiculous how much stuff and how much BS the cable companies are out there pulling right now, just so that you are encouraged to stay with cable. It's a losing battle. At the end of the day, everybody is going to drop cable because you can hook an antenna up to any TV that was released since HD became a thing and watch over-the-air programming for all your local content, and everything else you can get on Netflix, Hulu, or subscribe directly to the service itself. Period. I don't know, guys. Just, you need to be on top of your politicians. That guy, Ajit Pai or whatever his name is, the guy's an asshole. The guy that's running the FCC right now, he is an asshole. He was placed there intentionally by Trump because Trump saw what the FCC was doing as an Obama thing. And he's blaming Obama for net neutrality. Oh, Obama, Democrats, liberals. It's bad because Obama was in office when it all happened. No, the guy that was running the FCC, I don't even remember his name, but the guy that was running the FCC when Obama was president was a conservative from everything that I can tell about him. And he actually used to be on the other side of the argument, but he started looking at stuff and started saying, man, this is bad for the consumer. And they put in place all these net neutrality rules. I mean, that should tell you right there that it's something that, I mean, if a conservative tells you, this is what we need to do before it became a political thing, maybe y'all should be looking at it. This is something that all sides of the aisle, except those that are stuffing their pockets from the cable company, are saying we need to be intervening here and have net neutrality in place. Maybe y'all should think about it. I am not the be all end all go-to guy for net neutrality, but I just wanted to put out there, this is what's going on. And if you use the internet, and pretty much everybody does these days, you should be interested in this, because if they get rid of this service tomorrow, there are going to be websites that you can't go to anymore. I know this for a fact because it happened to me. It happened to my website. AT&T shut down my website back at the end of 2013. I was running a service. It was a small company, a small startup. I was just gaining momentum, and I didn't have the money to pay for a web host, so I used a free web host. Well, AT&T decided, hey, we don't like this web host, so we're going to shut it down. All right, well, they didn't technically shut it down. They just blocked it on every device, every AT&T subscriber line. How did I find this out? Because I tried to go to it on my cell phone, which is AT&T, and I couldn't pull up my own website. I get on my home computer, which was Verizon Fios at the time, and the website works fine. I created it on my computer, so I didn't know that AT&T was blocking it until I pulled it up on my phone. Why did I pull it up on my phone? As we were gaining momentum building this business, me and a friend of mine, all of a sudden, the traffic overnight just died. Now it wasn't an internet business, but you had to go to the website to figure out what services I offered and to contact me and to set up everything. So without my website, the business was dead. AT&T is the provider for most households in the Dallas area, and that's where most of my business was. And not just the city of Dallas. I'm talking about most of the cities around Dallas. They were the main provider. Verizon does some select cities. I happened to be in a Verizon city at the time, but most of them were AT&T. And if you were an AT&T subscriber, you couldn't see my website anymore. You would go to my ad that would say "Go here to learn more" or whatever, and when you clicked on it, you would get a error not found message. And I contacted AT&T, and they were like, "Well, we blocked it because of something about the web host. It wasn't necessarily the web host. It was because it was a free web host. Some shady people were using it, in other places for things that had nothing to do with me. So instead of taking care of specific websites, they just decided to block the entire web host." Fast forward to when the beginning of net neutrality started. The moment the first things of net neutrality went into effect, all of a sudden that web host was available on AT&T again. But by that time, my business was completely dead. Now, I can't say it's completely bad because that business dying is what led me to create TwistedCurve Productions and subsequently TechnoScope, #Champs, and everything else. So, good and bad, I guess you take it all. But I was already doing something, and I already had this new business that was actually starting to grow when they decided to come along and kill it. So that's just one example. That's how it personally affected me, but there are plenty of other examples out there. So I really, really urge you to do your research. Check out as many sources as you can, but in the end, you're going to find out that the reason that net neutrality exists is because the FCC saw that the internet was starting to shoot itself in the foot, and they put an end to it. If you dig into that Verizon, Comcast, and AT&T, I think it was AT&T. There was at least three major players. There were more than three, but there were at least three major players that were throttling Netflix. If you look into that, you will see there's a chart somewhere on the internet where you can see the bandwidth for Netflix suddenly take a nosedive where they started throttling it, and it's really, really, really low for a while, and then all of a sudden the first payment from Netflix goes through to Comcast, I think it's Comcast, and then you see the spike, and it just dramatically overnight just jumps like crazy. They did not upgrade their infrastructure overnight. They just got rid of the throttling, and those people who are on Netflix didn't notice they didn't notice deteriorated internet. Everything was just fine. And that's another thing. The ISPs have no business dictating whose internet is more important than someone else's. That is all bullshit. I'm just going to call it what it is. It's straight up bullshit. The ISPs have no business saying one person's internet service is more important than another. I find my service to be very important to me. This is my business. If you can't watch my videos, my business dies. If I cannot upload my videos, my business dies. If I cannot stream my videos, my business dies. So yeah, I take it kind of personal. But anyway, guys, I hope this was at least educational, taught you some things. Go out, do your research. Just know that it's a bad thing. Vote against it. Period. Net neutrality should stay in place. I'm normally not for government regulation, but in this particular case, it needs to be there until we have a legit free market. It's not a legit free market. That's why net neutrality needs to be in place. But if you have any questions, suggestions, or comments or anything, leave those down below. Subscribe to the channel. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. My name is Elemento, and this is TechnoScope.
TechnoScope is a Twisted Curve production.